The alarm started screaming just as Taewon finished his morning coffee. He cursed under his breath and set down his mug. Nothing good ever came from alarms in deep space. He walked to the cockpit of his small freighter ship and checked the console. A distress beacon was flashing on his screen. Taewon stared at the signal. It was coming from an old research station about 2 hours away. The station orbited a dying star that nobody cared about anymore. Smart people stayed away from this area. Pirates liked to hide here, but someone was calling for help. He thought about ignoring it. He had cargo to deliver and he was already running late. The distress signal could be a trap. Pirates used fake signals to lure in rescue ships. But Taewon had been a soldier once before he became a cargo pilot. He knew what it felt like to need help and have no one come. He changed course toward the station. His ship, the Wandering Star, was old and slow. It had seen better days just like him. The engines made strange noises and the hull had more patches than original metal. But it was his home, and it had never let him down. 2 hours later, the research station appeared on his screen. It looked dead. No lights, no power signatures, just a dark metal shell spinning slowly around the red star. Taewon scanned for other ships. Nothing. Either the pirates were gone or they were hiding and waiting. He put on his pressure suit and grabbed his old military pistol. The weapon was 15 years old and had seen too many battles. Like everything else he owned, it was outdated but reliable. He docked with the station and opened the airlock. The station was cold and dark inside. His helmet light cut through the darkness as he moved down the corridor. There were signs of fighting everywhere. Blast marks on the walls. Broken equipment. A few bodies in worker uniforms. Taewon had seen death before, but it never got easier. He followed the distress signal to the main research lab. The door was half open, jammed by debris. He squeezed through and swept his light around the room. More bodies. These ones wore armor he recognized. Valorian battle armor. Elite soldiers from one of the most powerful species in known space. Valorians were warriors. Tall, strong, and proud. They looked down on humans. Most aliens did, actually. Humans were weak compared to other species. No natural armor, no enhanced strength, no special abilities. Just soft skin and stubbornness. Valorians especially thought humans were barely worth noticing. But someone in Valorian armor was still alive. Taewon found her in the corner of the room. Her armor was damaged and her helmet was cracked. Blood covered her side. She was unconscious but breathing. Barely. He knelt beside her and checked her injuries. Bad, but not immediately fatal if she got help soon. He tried to lift her, but even injured, she was heavy. Valorians were bigger than humans. He would need to drag her. That was when his ship computer beeped in his ear. 3 vessels approaching. Fast attack ships. Pirates were coming back to finish their salvage operation. Taewon had maybe 10 minutes before they arrived. He could leave the Valorian and save himself. No one would blame him. She probably would not even thank him if he saved her. Valorians did not thank humans for anything. But Taewon was not the kind of man who left people to die. Even proud warrior aliens who thought he was inferior. He started dragging her toward the airlock. She was so heavy that his back screamed in protest. Halfway there, his ship computer beeped again. The pirates were getting closer. 5 minutes now. Taewon made a decision. He could not outrun 3 attack ships. His freighter was too slow. But maybe he could stop them from chasing at all. He left the Valorian at the airlock and ran back into the station. In the engine room, he found what he needed. The reactor was damaged but still had power. He pulled out his tools and started working. His hands moved fast, connecting wires and bypassing safety systems. He was building a massive electromagnetic pulse. It would fry every electronic system within range, including the pirate ships. It would also destroy the station. But the station was already dying anyway. The timer showed 2 minutes until the pirates arrived. Taewon finished his work and ran back to the airlock. He dragged the unconscious Valorian into his ship and sealed the door. His hands flew over the controls as he undocked and fired the engines. The Wandering Star pulled away from the station, just as the pirate ships came into view. They were sleek and fast, built for killing. They saw his freighter and immediately gave chase. Weapons charged. Taewon watched his screen and counted down. 5 seconds, 4, 3. The station exploded, not with fire, but with a wave of electromagnetic energy that rippled through space. The pirate ships went dark instantly. Their engines died, their weapons powered down, their systems crashed. They were dead in space, floating helplessly. Taewon had been far enough away that his ship only got clipped by the edge of the pulse. His systems flickered but stayed online. He pushed the engines hard and jumped to hyperspace before the pirates could recover. In the cargo hold, the Valorian warrior lay unconscious on the floor. Taewon had saved her life. He had also just made himself a target for every pirate in the sector. They would want revenge for losing 3 ships, but that was a problem for later. He set course for neutral space and went to check on his passenger. She was still breathing. Her armor displayed symbols he could not read, but they looked important. Whoever she was not just a regular soldier. The armor was too elaborate, too expensive. Taewon cleaned her wounds as best he could with his basic medical supplies. Valorian biology was different from human biology, but blood was blood. He stopped the bleeding and made her comfortable. Then he went back to the cockpit and collapsed in his chair. What had he just done? He had rescued a Valorian warrior who would probably despise him. He had destroyed a space station and disabled 3 pirate ships. He had delayed his cargo delivery, which meant he would lose money. All to save someone who would never see him as an equal, but it was done now. The warrior would wake up soon, and then things would get interesting. Valorians were proud. They did not like owing debts to anyone, especially not to humans. Taewon had no idea what would happen when she opened her eyes. He drank his cold coffee and watched the stars stream past. Somewhere behind him, pirates were probably very angry. Somewhere ahead, he had cargo waiting to be delivered. And somewhere in his cargo hold, a Valorian warrior was slowly waking up in a human ship. Taewon had a feeling his life was about to get very complicated. The Valorian warrior woke up 3 hours later. Taewon heard movement in the cargo hold and went to check. She was sitting up, her hand reaching for a weapon that was not there. When she saw him, her eyes went cold. She was tall, even sitting down. Her armor was dark red with gold markings. Her face was angular and fierce, with sharp features that seemed carved from stone. Even injured and weak, she looked dangerous. She spoke in her own language first. Harsh, clipped sounds that Taewon did not understand. Then she switched to common trade language. Her voice was rough, like she had been shouting for hours. "Where am I? Who are you?" she demanded. "You are on my ship," Taewon said calmly. "I am Taewon. I found you on that research station. You were dying. I brought you here." She stared at him. Really looked at him for the first time. He saw the moment she realized what he was. Human. Her expression shifted from suspicion to something like disgust. She tried to stand, but pain made her gasp and sit back down. "A human saved me?" She said it like she could not believe it. Like it was the worst thing she had ever heard. "You are welcome," Taewon said dryly. He turned to leave. "Wait," she said. Her voice was different now. Still cold, but with something else underneath. "What is your name again?" "Taewon. I am Jiwoo, High Commander of the Crimson Phalanx." She said it like he should be impressed. He was, actually. The Crimson Phalanx was famous. They were the elite warriors of the Valorian Confederation. The best of the best. And this woman commanded them all. "What happened to you?" Taewon asked. Jiwoo was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke. Her voice was bitter. She had been escorting a convoy of supply ships. Pirates attacked. Too many pirates with weapons too good for ordinary raiders. Her flagship was destroyed. Her guards died protecting her. She made it to the research station, but the pirates followed. They killed everyone there while hunting for her. "I sent a distress signal before my equipment failed," she said. "I expected my people to find me. Instead, a human came." She said human the way most people said disease. Taewon felt his temper rise, but he pushed it down. He had dealt with alien prejudice his whole life. One more proud warrior looking down on him did not matter. "Your people did not come." "I did, now you are alive. If you do not like it, the airlock is over there." He pointed. Jiwoo stared at him. For a second, he thought she might actually get angry. Then something changed in her expression. She looked down at her damaged armor, at the bandages he had applied to her wounds, at the blanket he had covered her with. "You saved my life," she said quietly. "By Valorian law, I owe you a life debt. This debt must be repaid." Taewon felt his stomach drop. He knew about life debts. Every spacer knew about Valorian life debts. When a Valorian owed someone their life, they were bound by honor to serve that person until the debt was repaid through equal sacrifice. It was sacred to them. "Absolute no," he said immediately. "I do not want that. I helped because it was the right thing to do." "You owe me nothing. What you want does not matter," Jiwoo said. I am bound by honor. Where you go, I go, until this debt is paid. This is crazy, Taewon said. You are a high commander. You command armies. You cannot just follow me around. I can and I will, Jiwoo said firmly. This is our way. Without honor, we are nothing. Taewon ran his hand through his hair. This was bad. Really bad. He was a simple cargo pilot. He did not need a Valorian high commander as a bodyguard, especially one who clearly hated being saved by a human. The next few days were difficult. Jiwoo insisted on following him everywhere. She criticized everything. His ship was too small. His weapons were outdated. His flying was sloppy. His food was disgusting. He took too many risks. He did not take enough precautions. Taewon tried to ignore her, but that was impossible. She filled every room with her presence. Even injured, she moved like a predator. Every action was precise and controlled. She checked weapons that were not there. She studied every system on his ship like she was looking for weaknesses. You should install better shields, she said one morning. This ship could not survive a real battle. This ship has survived plenty of real battles, Taewon replied. Better shields cost money I do not have. You are poor, Jiwoo said. It was not a question, I get by. Humans always barely get by, she said. Your species has no strength, no natural advantages. You survive through luck and stubbornness. Taewon turned to face her. He had been patient for days, but he was done being insulted on his own ship. You are right, he said. We are weak. We have no armor, no enhanced strength, no special abilities. But we are still here. We survive, and right now this weak human is the only reason you are alive. So maybe show a little respect. Jiwoo stared at him. For a long moment neither spoke. Then, to his surprise, she nodded slightly. You are right, she said quietly. I have been an ungrateful. This is difficult for me. I have never owed a debt to a human before. I did not think it was possible. Well, it is possible. And it happened. So maybe we can try to make this less painful for both of us. Jiwoo nodded again. After that, things improved slightly. She still criticized his ship, but less harshly. She still followed him everywhere, but stayed quieter. She even tried his food without complaining. 3 days after she woke up, they docked at Freehaven Station to resupply. The station was neutral territory, a place where all species could trade without asking questions. It was also where Taewon heard the news. A bartender told him while he was buying supplies. The attack on Jiwoo's convoy had not been random. Someone had paid those pirates. Someone with money and power. Someone who wanted Jiwoo dead. When he told Jiwoo, her face went hard. She immediately tried to contact her people. Her second-in-command, a warrior named Hyun, answered. The conversation was in Valorian, but Taewon could tell it was bad news from Jiwoo's expression. When she finished, Jiwoo looked shaken. That scared Taewon more than her anger had. This was a woman who commanded armies. Nothing should shake her. What is wrong? He asked. My enemies spread word that I died without honor, she said. That I abandoned my post and fled like a coward. My reputation is destroyed. My position is at risk, and Hyun says assassins are already searching for me. Assassins? Here? Soon. We should leave, but it was too late. The assassins found them before they could return to the ship. 4 of them, moving through the crowded station market like shadows. Taewon saw them first. He had been a soldier long enough to recognize killers. Jiwoo, he said quietly. We have company. She looked where he indicated and saw them. Her hand moved to where her weapon should be, but she was unarmed. They both were. Station rules. The assassins moved closer. Taewon grabbed Jiwoo's arm and pulled her into the crowd. They ran. They ran through the crowded market, pushing past merchants and shoppers. The assassins followed, moving faster now that they had been spotted. Taewon pulled Jiwoo down a side corridor, then another. He knew this station well. He had docked here dozens of times. Where are we going? Jiwoo demanded. Maintenance tunnels, Taewon said. They run under the whole station. We can lose them there. He found the access hatch and pulled it open. They climbed down into darkness. Taewon activated his wrist light and started moving. The tunnels were narrow and filled with pipes. Water dripped from the ceiling. It smelled like oil and recycled air. Behind them, he heard the hatch open again. The assassins were following. Of course they were. Professional killers did not give up easily. Taewon moved faster, turning left, then right, then left again. He was trying to confuse their trail. Jiwoo kept pace despite her injuries. She was tougher than any human could be. "This is foolish," Jiwoo said. "We should stand and fight with what? We have no weapons, they do." Taewon turned another corner and stopped. "Dead end," he cursed. Footsteps echoed behind them. The assassins were getting closer. Taewon looked around frantically. There had to be another way out. There always was in maintenance tunnels. Then he saw it. A ventilation shaft above them. It was small, too small for a Valorian, but maybe big enough for a human. "Boost me up," he told Jiwoo. "What? Just do it, trust me." Jiwoo made a step with her hands. Taewon put his foot in and she lifted him like he weighed nothing. He pulled himself into the ventilation shaft and crawled forward. The metal was cold and the space was tight, but he fit. He crawled to where the shaft crossed over the tunnel. Below he could see Jiwoo standing alone. The assassins appeared moments later. 4 of them, all armed with energy weapons. The lead assassin smiled. He said something in Valorian. Jiwoo responded, her voice cold and proud. Even facing death, she showed no fear. The assassins raised their weapons. Taewon acted. He kicked the ventilation grate loose and dropped from above. He landed on the lead assassin, knocking him down. The energy weapon flew from the assassin's hand. Taewon grabbed the weapon and fired. He was not a great shot anymore, but at this range he did not need to be. The nearest assassin went down. Jiwoo moved instantly, using her superior strength to attack the others. The fight was brief and brutal. Jiwoo was wounded and unarmed, but she was still a trained warrior. She broke one assassin's arm and threw him into the wall. Taewon shot another. The last one tried to run. Jiwoo caught him and knocked him unconscious. When it was over, both of them were breathing hard. Jiwoo looked at Taewon with something new in her eyes. Not respect, not yet, but maybe the beginning of it. "That was clever," she said. "Using your small size as an advantage. Humans have to be clever," Taewon said. "We cannot win with strength alone." They made it back to the ship without further trouble. As soon as they were in space, Jiwoo contacted Ha-eun again. This time, Taewon listened to the whole conversation. Ha-eun spoke trade language so he could understand. The news was worse than before. Jiwoo's political enemies were using her disappearance to seize power. They claimed she had failed her duty and abandoned her warriors. The Crimson Phalanx was being disbanded. Her warriors faced dishonor and exile. "Some have already chosen death over shame," Ha-eun said quietly. "They believe you are dead, Commander. They believe there is nothing left to fight for." Jiwoo closed her eyes. Taewon saw pain on her face that had nothing to do with her physical wounds. These were her people, her warriors, and they were dying because of her. "Tell them I live," Jiwoo said. "Tell them to hold on." "I will return when, Commander?" Ha-eun asked. "Our enemies grow stronger every day. We need you now soon," Jiwoo promised. The call ended. Taewon had been quiet during the conversation, but now he spoke. He had an idea. It was crazy, but most of his ideas were. "What if you do not just return?" he said. "What if you return with proof? Proof that someone tried to kill you. Proof that humans are not as worthless as your people think." Jiwoo looked at him. She understood immediately. She was smart, whatever else she might be. "You want to find evidence of the conspiracy," she said. "Yes, someone paid those pirates to attack your convoy. Someone powerful. If we can prove it, you clear your name. And maybe your people start seeing humans differently." "It is dangerous," Jiwoo said. "We would be going against powerful enemies." "More dangerous than having your warriors die thinking you abandoned them?" Taewon asked. Jiwoo was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. She had made her decision. Over the next few weeks, they traveled through contested space. Taewon had connections everywhere. Smugglers, traders, information brokers. He called in favors and paid bribes. Slowly, they built a picture of what had happened. The conspiracy went high. Very high. A Valorian war matron named Sumin had hired the pirates. She wanted Jiwoo dead so she could take control of the Crimson Phalanx herself. With that power, she planned to launch attacks on human colonies, starting a war that would make her a hero to xenophobic Valorians. During their investigation, they passed through human territories. Jiwoo saw things she had never seen before. Human colonies struggling to survive against exploitation by stronger species. Families working together to build homes on harsh worlds. Children studying in makeshift schools. Learning to read and write in multiple alien languages. She saw humans helping each other without question. Sharing food when there was barely enough. Protecting the weak. Building communities in places where no other species would live. One night, they stopped at a small human colony to resupply. The colonists were poor but generous. They insisted on sharing their meal with Jiwoo and Taiwan. A child, no more than 6 years old, gave Jiwoo a flower she had picked. "You are very tall," the child said, looking up at Jiwoo with wide eyes. "Are you a warrior?" "Yes," Jiwoo said. "Will you protect us?" the child asked. "Bad people come sometimes. They take things. Father says we are too weak to stop them." Jiwoo looked down at this small human child, so fragile, so hopeful. She thought about her own warriors, strong and proud. But these humans had something her people often lacked. They had hope even when everything was against them. "I will try," Jiwoo said softly. That night, as they prepared to leave, Jiwoo was quiet. Taewon noticed. "Something wrong?" he asked. "I was wrong about humans," she said finally. "I thought you were weak, because you have no strength. But strength is not just physical power. You survive through cooperation, through hope, through refusing to give up even when everything says you should. Does this mean you will stop criticizing my ship?" Taewon asked with a small smile. Jiwoo actually smiled back. It was the first time he had seen her smile. It changed her whole face, making her look less like a warrior and more like a person. "No," she said. "Your ship still needs better shields." They both laughed. It was a small moment, but it meant something. They were not just a life debtor and her savior anymore. They were becoming something else, maybe even friends, but their investigation was far from over. They had learned who was behind the conspiracy. Now they needed proof, and that meant going somewhere very dangerous. They needed to infiltrate a Valorian military installation. The Valorian military installation floated in deep space like a fortress among the stars. It was massive, bristling with weapons and shields. Hundreds of warriors lived and trained there. Getting inside would be nearly impossible. Taewon studied the station from a safe distance. The sensors showed patrol ships moving in careful patterns. Energy signatures indicated active shield generators. This place was built to withstand an army. "We cannot fight our way in," Jiwoo said. "Even with my authority, they will not let us through. Suman has spread word that I am a traitor. Then we sneak in," Taewon said. He was already thinking through options. Supply ships, maintenance crews. Every fortress had weak points if you knew where to look. They waited 3 days, watching patrol patterns and supply schedules. Taewon hacked into the station's shipping manifest. A food delivery was scheduled for tomorrow. Perfect. That night, they intercepted the supply ship. The crew was only 2 Valorians. Jiwoo disabled them quickly and efficiently. They were alive but unconscious. Taewon felt bad about it, but they had no choice. They hid the crew in an escape pod and set it adrift with a beacon. Someone would find them. Then Taewon piloted the supply ship toward the installation. Jiwoo hid in the cargo hold, among crates of preserved food. The station hailed them. Taewon responded with the proper codes he had stolen from the manifest. His heart pounded. If they scanned too closely, they would see he was human. Most Valorian installations did not allow humans inside, but the security officer sounded bored. Supply runs happened every day. Nothing interesting. He cleared them to dock without even activating visual sensors. Taewon docked and waited. Cargo handlers came to unload the food. They worked efficiently, not looking closely at anything. When they left, Taewon and Jiwoo slipped out of the ship. The station interior was all hard angles and cold metal. Warriors walked the corridors in groups, talking in their harsh language. Taewon felt very small and very vulnerable. If anyone looked at him too closely, they would know he did not belong. Jiwoo led them through service corridors, avoiding main passages. She knew how military installations worked. All of them were built on similar principles. Command centers were always near the top. Communication systems were always heavily protected. They found a computer terminal in an empty equipment room. Taewon got to work while Jiwoo watched the door. His fingers flew across the controls. Valorian computer systems were different from human ones, but not so different that he could not hack them. He searched for communication records between Sumin and the pirates. Found them. Financial transactions, too. Sumin had been careful, but not careful enough. The evidence was here. Proof that she had paid for the attack on Jiwoo's convoy. Taewon downloaded everything to a data chip. They had what they came for. Now they just needed to escape. That was when the alarm started screaming. Someone had found the unconscious supply crew, or maybe security had finally noticed something was wrong. Either way, the station was going into lockdown. Blast doors started closing throughout the installation. "Run," Jiwoo said. They ran, warriors appeared in the corridors. They saw Jiwoo and recognized her instantly. Their high commander supposedly dead. Some hesitated, confused. Others raised weapons. Orders were orders, even if they came from traitors. Jiwoo fought her way through. She moved like a force of nature, disarming warriors without killing them. These were her people. She would not kill them if she could help it. Taewon stayed close behind her, his stolen weapon ready. They were almost back to the docking bay when Sumin appeared. The war matron was tall, even for a Valorian. She wore ceremonial armor that gleamed like blood. Behind her stood 20 elite warriors. Her personal guard Jiwoo, Sumin said. I thought you were dead. How disappointing to find you alive and consorting with humans. You disgrace our people, I disgrace no one, Jiwoo said. But you do. You hired pirates to kill your own warriors. You betrayed everything we stand for. Sumin smiled. It was a cold smile. I did what was necessary. Humans make us weak. They corrupt our strength with their weakness. Once you were dead, I could have led the phalanx to cleanse human space. We would have been heroes. You would have been murderers, Jiwoo said. And now everyone will know the truth. She held up the data chip. I have proof of everything you did. Sumin's expression changed. Rage replaced confidence. Then no one will see that proof. Kill them. Kill them both. The elite warriors attacked. Jiwoo met them head-on. She was outnumbered but not outmatched. She was the high commander for a reason. Every move was perfect, every strike precise, but she was still injured from before. Still weak from weeks without proper rest. And there were too many enemies. Taewon saw it happen. One warrior got through Jiwoo's defense. His blade arced toward her back. She did not see it coming. Taewon moved without thinking. He threw himself forward, pushing Jiwoo aside. The blade meant for her took him instead. Pain exploded through his chest. He fell. Jiwoo screamed. It was a sound of pure rage. She fought like she had never fought before. The warriors fell back before her fury. Even Sumin looked afraid. Sumin drew her own blade. The two commanders met in single combat. It was brutal and quick. Sumin was skilled, but Jiwoo was better. And Jiwoo was angry. She disarmed Sumin and drove her to her knees. All of this was broadcast, Jiwoo said loudly. Every Valorian installation is watching right now. They see your treachery. They see your cowardice. You are finished. Taewon had activated the broadcast function on the terminal before they ran. Everything that happened in this corridor was being transmitted across Valorian networks. Millions were watching. They saw Sumin confess. They saw her order the death of Jiwoo. They saw a human save a Valorian commander's life. Sumin looked up at the cameras. Realization and horror crossed her face. She had lost completely. Jiwoo turned away from her defeated enemy. She ran to Taewon. He was lying in a pool of his own blood. His breathing was shallow. His skin was pale. Why? Jiwoo said. Her voice broke. Why did you do that? Taewon smiled weakly. Someone once told me that life debts are sacred. I guess I believe that now. You are a fool, Jiwoo said. But there was no anger in her voice, only fear. She pulled out her communication device. Haijun, I need immediate medical evacuation. Bring the flagship now. The warriors who had been fighting them stood uncertain. Their commander was defeated. Their high commander had returned. The broadcast had changed everything. One warrior stepped forward. He was young, but his armor marked him as an officer. He knelt before Jiwoo, Commander, he said. We did not know. We were told you were dead. Told you had abandoned us. We see now that we were lied to. Then help me, Jiwoo said. Help me save this human's life. He saved mine. He saved all of ours by exposing the truth. The warriors moved immediately. They brought medical supplies. They stabilized Taewon's wounds as best they could. It was not enough. He needed better care than they could provide here. The flagship arrived 30 minutes later. Haiyun came personally with a full medical team. They took Taewon immediately to the surgical bay. Jiwoo tried to follow, but Haiyun stopped her. Commander, you need to address the crew. They need to see you. They need to know the truth from your own mouth. Jiwoo looked torn. She wanted to stay with Taewon, but Haiyun was right. Her warriors needed her. She went to the bridge. The entire crew stood at attention when she entered. Some had tears on their faces. They had believed she was dead. Some had nearly taken their own lives in shame. Jiwoo told them everything. The ambush, the rescue, the investigation, the human who had saved her life not once but twice, the human who was now fighting for his life in their medical bay. She told them that humans were not weak. They were different. They had their own kind of strength. And they deserved respect. When she finished speaking, every warrior on the bridge saluted her. Not because she ordered it, but because they believed in her again. Then Jiwoo went to the medical bay and waited. Taewon was in surgery for hours. The doctors worked with desperate focus. Valorian medical technology was advanced, but human biology was different. They had to adapt as they went. Finally, the lead doctor emerged. "He is alive," the doctor said. "Barely, but he will survive." Jiwoo felt something break inside her. Relief, gratitude, something else she could not name. She went to Taewon's bed. He was unconscious, his chest covered in bandages, but he was breathing. He was alive. She sat beside him and took his hand. "You saved me again," she said quietly. "This debt can never be fully repaid." Taewon woke up 3 days later. The first thing he saw was Jiwoo. She was asleep in a chair beside his bed, her head resting on her arms. She looked exhausted. He tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Pain shot through his chest. He groaned. Jiwoo woke instantly, her warrior instincts alert even in sleep. "Do not move," she said. "Your injuries are still healing." "Where am I?" Taewon asked. His voice was rough. "On my flagship. You have been unconscious for 3 days. The doctors said you almost died. Did we succeed? Did the broadcast work?" Jiwoo smiled. It was a real smile this time, warm and genuine. "We succeeded. Su-min is under arrest. The Valorian Council has seen all the evidence. My name is cleared. The Crimson Phalanx is restored." "Good," Taewon said. Then he frowned. "So your debt is paid. You do not have to stay with me anymore." Jiwoo was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke. "You saved my life twice now, once on the station and once in the corridor. By my calculation, I still owe you a debt. Perhaps I always will." "You do not owe me anything," Taewon said. "Perhaps not," Jiwoo said. "But I choose to stay anyway, if you will have me." Taewon looked at her, really looked at her. She was no longer the proud warrior who had despised him on sight. Something had changed between them, something neither of them had expected. "I would like that," he said. 2 weeks later, Taewon was well enough to walk. Jiwoo insisted he attend a meeting with her. The Valorian Council wanted to see him. The council chamber was enormous and intimidating. 12 high-ranking Valorians sat in a semicircle, all wearing elaborate armor. They looked down at Taewon with expressions ranging from curiosity to disapproval. Jiwoo stood beside him, her presence solid and reassuring. She had submitted her proposal 3 days ago. Today, the council would decide. The head counselor spoke. He was old, his armor decorated with honors from decades of service. High Commander Jiwoo proposes something unprecedented. She asks that the Crimson Phalanx, our most elite warriors, be assigned to protect human colonies in contested space. She claims humans deserve our alliance, our protection. The counselor looked at Taewon. "Human, what do you say to this? Do humans deserve Valorian warriors?" Taewon had prepared for this question. He had thought about it carefully during his recovery. When he spoke, his voice was calm and clear. "No," he said. "We do not deserve anything. We are weak by your standards. We have no natural armor, no enhanced strength. We die easily and live short lives compared to most species." Several counselors nodded, satisfied with this answer, but Taewon was not finished. "But we survive anyway," he continued. "We build homes on worlds others consider worthless. We raise families in places where we should not be able to live. We help each other when we have nothing to give. We never surrender, even when surrender would be logical." He paused, meeting each counselor's eyes in turn. "You ask if we deserve your protection. I say we do not need it because we deserve it. We need it because we will fight alongside you. Because we will be loyal allies. Because when you are in trouble, humans will come to help you, just as Jiwoo helped me and I helped her. That is what we offer. Not weakness disguised as strength, but partnership. True partnership between equals." The council chamber, was silent. Several counselors looked thoughtful, others still seemed skeptical. But they were listening. Ji Woo stepped forward. She spoke with the authority of her position and the passion of her experience. I have fought beside this human. I have seen his courage. I have seen how humans survive against impossible odds. They are not like us, but that is their strength, not their weakness. She looked at the counselors. Su-min wanted to destroy humans because she feared what they represented. Change. Evolution. A future where strength is not just physical power but adaptability and cooperation. We can reject that future and remain isolated, or we can embrace it and grow stronger together. The head counselor was quiet for a long time. Then he spoke. The evidence of Su-min's treachery has shaken many of us. We see now that isolationism made us vulnerable to corruption from within. Perhaps an outside perspective would strengthen us. He looked at his fellow counselors. They began to vote. It was close, very close. But when the final vote was counted, Ji Woo's proposal had passed. The Crimson Phalanx would be assigned to protect human colonies. This unprecedented alliance would begin immediately. After the meeting, Ji Woo found Taewon standing at a viewport looking at the stars. She joined him. You spoke well, she said. I spoke the truth, he replied. That is all. What will you do now? Ji Woo asked. Your debt is paid. Mine is paid. We are both free. Taewon smiled. I still have refugees to help. People who need transport to safer places. But now I have an idea. What if we work together? Your warriors can protect the colonies. I can help people reach those colonies safely. Ji Woo nodded slowly. A partnership. Like you spoke of to the council. Exactly. I would like that, Ji Woo said. Then she smiled. But you still need better shields on your ship. Taewon laughed. Maybe you can help with that. You are High Commander now. Surely you have access to some spare military equipment? Perhaps I do, Ji Woo said. 6 months passed. The alliance between humans and Valorians grew stronger. The Crimson Phalanx defended 3 human colonies from raiders and earned the grateful respect of the colonists they protected. Hyun, who had been skeptical at first, now trained human militia fighters. She was surprised by how quickly they learned. They lacked strength, but they made up for it with determination and creativity. Other Valorian warriors began to see humans differently. They saw families who thanked them for their protection, children who looked up at them with admiration instead of fear, communities that offered them hospitality and friendship. Taewon continued his work, but now with Valorian support. His ship finally got those better shields, and better weapons, and a proper medical bay. Ji Woo had been very insistent about the medical bay. She accompanied him on many of his missions. At first, she said it was to ensure he did not get himself killed, but after a while, she stopped making excuses. They worked well together. They understood each other in a way few could. One evening, they sat together in the newly renovated cockpit of the Wandering Star. They had just delivered a group of refugees to a safe colony. The families had been so grateful that they insisted on cooking a feast for Taewon and Ji Woo. Ji Woo was quiet, watching the stars. Finally, she spoke. Do you remember when you said my debt was paid? Yes, Taewon said. You were right. The debt was repaid long ago. But I stay with you not because of obligation. I stay because I choose to, because you are my friend, perhaps my closest friend. Taewon smiled. The feeling is mutual. When you first woke up on this ship, I thought you were the most arrogant person I had ever met. I was arrogant, Ji Woo admitted. I was wrong about many things, about humans, about strength, about what truly matters. We were both wrong, Taewon said. I thought Valorians were just proud warriors who would never see humans as equals. But you proved me wrong too. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Outside the viewport, a Valorian patrol ship passed by. Its crew sent a friendly greeting over the radio. Human and Valorian ships working together. It had seemed impossible just months ago. On one of the human colonies they now protected, a remarkable scene unfolded daily. Valorian warriors trained alongside human volunteers. At first, the training had been awkward. The Valorians were stronger, faster, more experienced, but the humans learned quickly. More importantly, they learned from each other. Valorians taught humans combat techniques developed over centuries. Humans taught Valorians improvisation and adaptability. Together, they became more than the sum of their parts. Children from both species played together in the colony squares. A Valorian child and a human child might team up to solve a puzzle or build something together. Their parents watched with hope. This was a future few had imagined possible. Ha-Yun reported to Ji-Woo regularly. The latest report was particularly interesting. The human engineers have suggested modifications to our armor, she said. They claim it will improve our mobility without sacrificing protection. I was skeptical, but the initial tests are promising. Ji-Woo smiled. Humans are full of surprises. I have learned never to underestimate them. Indeed, Ha-Yun agreed. I must admit, Commander, your judgment was correct. This alliance strengthens us all. News of the successful alliance spread throughout the galaxy. Other species watched with interest. Some were skeptical. Others saw opportunity. The Valorian-Human alliance was becoming a model for how different species could work together. 1 year after Taewon had rescued Ji-Woo from that dying research station, they returned to the same sector. The station was gone, destroyed, but where it had been, something new existed. A joint human-Valorian outpost, a symbol of cooperation. A place where both species could meet, trade, and learn from each other. At the dedication ceremony, Ji-Woo gave a speech. She spoke of honor and friendship, of debts repaid through actions, not words, of a future where differences made everyone stronger. When she finished, Taewon stood beside her. Together they cut the ribbon. Human and Valorian, side by side. Equals,